Machine guns are back in Destiny, and Thunderlord, the exotic machine gun, is the first one in Destiny 2. But are machine guns good in Destiny 2? Is Thunderlord unique? Is it powerful? Well, let's talk about it. Thunderlord, as I said, is a machine gun in Destiny 2, first of its kind, that fires at 450 RPM with what I could tell is roughly 53 impact by measuring it in Photoshop, since the weapon's currently still classified in the database. It deals 41 critical damage and 30 body shot damage in PvP, and this amounts to an optimal time to kill of 0.53 seconds, taking 4 crit and 1 body shot, and a 0.8 second base time to kill, taking 7 body shots. In terms of its stats, like I said, there are hidden stats that aren't yet available, like the recoil direction and aim assist values, and I did measure the stats that we do have in-game to the best of my abilities with Photoshop. I got 67 range, 64 stability, 46 handling, and 68 reload. Of course, these might be 1 or 2 points off depending on the value, but we'll have to wait and see until it's no longer classified in the database. This should give you a good indicator of what kind of stats it has though. For perks, we have Rain Havoc. Kills with this weapon generate lightning strikes from above, and lightning rounds. This weapon fires faster and more accurately the longer the trigger is held. Continuous damage generates lightning strikes. We do also have the minor perk Feeding Frenzy, so you get increased reload speed after getting a kill. The lightning strikes that are mentioned in the perks is an AoE effect that deals at most 65 damage within 2 meters and approximately 30 damage within 3 to 4 meters. It doesn't appear to chain any sort of lightning damage between targets though, and is just more so an AoE effect. The increased rate of fire and accuracy from lightning rounds appears to increase the Thunderlord's RPM after firing around 17 bullets, and then once again after another 25 bullets over the course of 1 meg. A common pattern though for RPM increases so far in Destiny 2 has been at least starting at 450 RPM, goes to 600 RPM next, and most likely 720 RPM, although I can't 100% confirm this. This is just a good guess. It appears like the weapon experiences more recoil as the rate of fire increases, which of course makes sense, but increased accuracy appears to make the recoil pattern more linear or consistent, and less random and all over the place, kind of sporadic. And based on how accuracy boosts and accuracy seems to affect other weapons in Destiny 2, we can assume that it most likely makes landing shots more forgiving and landing critical hits more forgiving as well. I didn't really find any of these perks to be useful at all in PvP. The lightning strikes were a small, nice bit of bonus damage against opposing supers, but otherwise, the perks didn't really provide much benefit in any way. The lightning strikes never activate within the time to kill of the weapon, which is between 5 and 7 bullets, and you have to be landing repeated shots to get them to activate. It seems like it took about 10 bullets against a super to trigger a lightning strike, and the damage wasn't really significant. It was 24 damage. In terms of stability, the weapon doesn't appear to have a ton of screen movement with its recoil, and mainly appears to be unpredictable, sudden movements of the weapon model itself and its sights that can't really be compensated for. There is a slight drift horizontally to the left though when firing, but again it doesn't seem as noticeable as the random movements the weapon itself makes while firing. Range, however, was surprisingly good on this weapon. It was able to maintain its damage output up until 57 meters, having full damage output, but I'd say it's really only usable up until about 35, maybe 40 meters due to the randomness of its recoil. That being said, I think it's worth mentioning that at around 35 meters, it looked like shooting for the body regularly landed and counted as headshots, whereas aiming for the head landed as a miss or just a body shot. It was pretty inaccurate. Overall though, I think Thunderlord had far more range effectiveness than I had even anticipated, even just using it in game in longer lanes against pulse rifles. As you can probably expect though, handling wasn't very good on the weapon. Even with Dragon Shadow active, it felt quite slow and pretty clunky. This wasn't good, especially since I don't think hipfire was very accurate on this weapon, and while ADS, of course, you can't see your radar, and against most targets, you'll want to be aimed down with this weapon and ready to shoot, which takes away your radar and leaves you to try and anticipate where an enemy is coming from, or it could leave you exposed to flanks that you're not totally aware of. Reload speed wasn't really necessary in PvP because you don't get more than a meg by picking up a heavy brick, but it does have Feeding Frenzy in the odd chance that you do need to reload. Otherwise, as you can guess, the reload was slow, but honestly, not absolutely terrible. I don't think Thunderlord feels insanely powerful or overpowered, really. I think it performs incredibly well across all of mid-range, and if anything, I think has a little bit too much range, being able to go beyond that, potentially. But I think it struggles against shotguns and special weapons in their ideal ranges, again, especially shotguns. Also, as any automatic weapon does, this weapon very much struggles against someone using their cover effectively. Peek shooting with a hand cannon like Luna's Howl for a 3-tap ideally, or barely revealing yourself with a shotgun or fusion will counter the weapon quite well, or at least waste some of the ammo of someone using it. Thunderlord also lacks a ton of versatility due to its very poor handling and hipfire accuracy. If you aren't aimed down at mid-range ready for a target, you'll most likely struggle and get a less than ideal TTK. But if you're aimed down and ready, you risk having tunnel vision on a target, not having that radar visibility, and you can easily be flanked or ambushed. The time to kill did feel powerful, but not too insane compared to at least other heavy weapons, and rarely are you achieving that optimal time to kill due to the randomness of the weapon's recoil, but I think the body TTK is still quite good and better than most weapons. That being said, a 3-tap with Luna's Howl will come close to the TTK of the Thunderlord without the need to be so exposed while firing it and trying to get that 3-tap off. So if you have that, I recommend using it against a Thunderlord. What makes this weapon so powerful though, what makes the Thunderlord so strong I think, is that you pick up 51 bullets off of a power ammo brick in PvP. This has the potential to last you a pretty long while, and even if you were to take 10 bullets per kill, you can net 5 kills with this weapon from 1 power ammo pull, which I think is more than most heavy weapons in the game. I think that with Thunderlord, you're sacrificing this small, tiny bit of lethality and ease of use compared to other heavy weapons, but you're given a ton of potential to have heavy in play for a long period of time and tons of potential to get many kills. Not to mention, I think you'll most likely have this weapon active and in play until the next heavy ammo spawn, so I think this weapon could snowball pretty hard. You could decrease the ammo count for it and how much you get off of 1 power brick, but then what does the weapon really have compared to other heavy exotics? Personally, I think it could do with less ammo, and I'm not a fan of how much ammo it gets off of 1 power brick, but I'm not sure if that would defeat the point of the weapon. Either way though, regardless, I'm not a fan of a weapon that's strength is to be in play for longer periods of time in exchange for lethality, while still being pretty decently more powerful than the average weapon. I think there's just too much potential for a snowball effect and someone to be able to run around with Thunderlord all game. For that reason, I don't really like it. Enough with PvP. In PvE, it's great for both crowd control and DPS, so it's a pretty versatile weapon. The large mag, high rate of fire, lightning strikes upon kill, and feeding frenzy makes it excellent for crowd control, but it also deals some pretty good DPS as well. I tried Thunderlord against Riven and took a look at some of the damage of it. Thunderlord was able to fire 103 shots in 15 seconds, or 172 shots in 15 seconds without reload, so with a rally barricade or lunafaction rift. It dealt 7,754 damage per shot against Riven. It had a 1.4 times critical modifier, and that totaled up to be 798,662 damage with your reload, and 1,333,688 damage without the need to reload. From the lightning strikes though, you get a bonus 8,043 damage per lightning strike, which took place roughly every 11 to 14 bullets. And it appeared that 5 lightning strikes took place within 62 bullets, which is 1 mag. That's approximately an additional 40,000 damage per mag or 62 bullets. And of course, with your RPM boost, with the rate of fire boost, you're going to get that more frequently. This is a look at peak performance though. You have to remember that this weapon relies on precision hits to deal its maximum damage output, and against some other targets in the game, some other enemies, it might be more difficult to land consistent precision hits because of the recoil and accuracy of this weapon. Compared to the 1000 voices using Riven as a target, I was able to fire 6 shots in about 15 seconds. Without its reload though, I was able to fire 7 shots in 15 seconds, and it dealt 178,155 damage per shot against Riven. So for 6 shots, this would be 1,068,930 damage, or with 7 shots, without its reload being necessary, was 1.2 million damage roughly, so 1,247,085 damage. Compared to the Whisper of the Worm, Whisper was able to fire 18 shots in about 15 seconds, and dealt 63,626 damage per shot with Whispered Breathing against Riven. This totaled up to be 1,145,268 damage within 15 seconds. So it seems like the Thunderlord is actually pretty good. It's really powerful and has a lot of potential and more damage output than some other exotic weapons in the heavy slot. But against Riven, nothing beats cluster bomb rockets. Damage of clusters are very inconsistent, but across 6 rockets I dealt 932,132 damage, which is an average of 155,355 damage per rocket. And without reloading, I was able to fire 8 rockets in about 9 seconds. Let's be real, no one's using rockets without a rally barricade or a lunafaction rift. This dealt 1,242,840 damage in 9 seconds, not even reaching the 15 seconds. So hypothetically, if it were possible to shoot 13 rockets in 15 seconds, it would deal 2,019,615 damage. So, as much as Thunderlord does do better than other exotic weapons at its peak potential, it still doesn't do better than cluster bomb rockets at its peak potential against Riven. I think the incredible range on Thunderlord, its crowd control capability, and its DPS capability makes it an incredibly well-rounded gun for PvE for almost any scenario, so it's great and I definitely recommend using it. I think it's a great new viable option for PvE. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave them in the comments down below so we can discuss the weapon. And if this is something of interest, check out my Twitch. Link is in the description. I've been doing a lot of streaming. I do daily streams now, and I'll be focusing on 1 or 2 really meaty, in-depth videos like this one every week on my YouTube channel. And then, again, in the in-between times, we'll have Twitch. So if you'd like to check it out, please do so. I appreciate it greatly. Once again, hope the video was enjoyable. I won't take up any more of your time, so thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.